Welcome back to another edition of Patriots No Huddle, brought to you by PatsFans.com. Mike Diabate, Steve Bauscheri, Derek Havens as your host. As always, we're so happy to have you guys here. Coming off another win by the Patriots, going on the road, facing the Tennessee Titans, 31-13, Week 7. The Patriots elevate their record to 5-2. Really excited to come here and discuss the game with you guys. Before we do anything, as always, Steve, my man, how you doing today?
I'm doing a lot better. The first quarter there, I was like, man, another
you were texting
slow
me. I thought
start.
I was gonna take your shoelaces away for a second.
Yes, I mean another slow start, and this is something they're going to have to clean up. I mean, because you can't be doing this. Eventually, you're going to be facing teams that are a lot better than the Titans, right? And you just can't afford that. So, second quarter came around. Drake May, I mean, he woke the team up, put the team on his back once again. What another phenomenal game for him. All three levels of the field, as we talked about. And then the defense, I mean, second half, they clamped down.
Titans didn't score a point in the second half.
Nope. Look, the Titans had their little interim coach bump in that first quarter. But then, by the end of the second quarter, they had turned back into the pumpkin. So, and the Patriots had a lot to do with that. The defense played much, much better in the second half. Offensively, I mean, they ran for 175 yards today.
Yep.
That's the kind of balance that they really want. And it was on full display.
Well, I'll say this, Mike, and I'll go to you next. I think the biggest takeaway from today's game is Drake May continuing to stack performances together. I mean, it's boring to talk about the quarterback all the time. You're talking about a second-year quarterback that is continuing to stack games back to back to back. 21 of 23 in this game. I mean, and Steve and I were just talking about this off air, Mike, before you hopped on. It's not just him delivering throws, whether they're bullets, whether they're sidelines, whether it's a deep shot like Kayshon Boutte, the Austin Hooper one in the end zone where he's putting perfect ball placement up, hole shots like to the right sideline of Mac Hollins, Diggs going over the middle. He's making every single throw, and he's doing it on such a high efficiency level. It's honestly kind of leaves me speechless. And for those people that have listened to me for a long period of time, and Steve knows I'm not one to be speechless. It certainly is like, holy crap. Now, defensively, the one negative thing I'll say, and I'll pick off Steve's back here, and we're going to circle back to this. We don't have to touch on it too much. The one negative thing is that I'm still a little frustrated with how the defense has come out in these first quarters throughout the season. But they're kind of weighing people out. So it's okay. We'll get back to that. Bottom line, Mike, they're 5-2. Your second-year quarterback is balling, and they love their coach. And they came out and they took care of business today, and that's what we asked for.
Absolutely. 100% correct. And look, I wrote about this for Sports Illustrated earlier. In the immortal words of the late, great Prince Rogers Nelson, all hail the new king in town. And there is a new king in town now in Foxborough. Look, Drake May is approaching the game with a level head. He's approaching it with a confidence that is really elevated his game. And I think you touched on this, Steve. Definitely. I know you touched on this, Derek. The impressive thing about this is we're not just seeing Drake May go for the big play. We know he can make the big play. We saw him make them in Chapel Hill as a member of the North Carolina Tar Heels. But he's maximizing his yardage gains on early downs. He's using the intermediate areas of the field to move the ball. That's a maturity that you want to see in your quarterback, and the Patriots are seeing it in Drake May.
Absolutely.
At one point, he completed 16 straight without a miss. That's very impressive to do that at a pro level. I know the Titans have their problems, folks. I understand that, but this is still a professional football team. There's still the highest level of players that get a chance to play this game, and they're capable of shutting down more than that. You've got to give Drake all the credit in the world for elevating his performance. He's elevating the performance of his pass catchers around him. Carried the ball himself today for 62 yards on 8 carries. So when he needs to, he knows that he can get the job done with his legs as well. But one thing that I took away from this more than anything else, and that is Drake just seems to have a greater understanding with each passing week of the when and the how to use all of those talents that he's got. That was on full display against the Titans this week. Mike Vrabel certainly caught on to it. Drake caught on to it, and it was a record-setting day for Drake May. Completing over 90% of his passes. That's a new franchise record, 91.3%. Former record held by Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
He
was
did
it 88 and a half?
88 and a half. Yep. Tom did that with 88 and a half against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Believe it or not, he did that. Always an interesting situation when you have a young quarterback that has so much on his shoulders rise to that occasion and actually be able to, be the guy that everybody needs him to be. It was interesting with this game today, and hats off to Drake May for a tremendous performance.
And Steve, I'm going to go over to you in a second, but Mike, I'm going to shoot back to you quickly. Going off what you just said, to me, Drake May, it's not. I already said this, but I'm going to fanboy a little bit, over it because it's just so impressive. It's his command under the pocket. Him and Josh are just. They have the synergy there that's just working. And whether it's the deep shot, whether it's a short shot, whether he's learning to tuck and run, feeling pressure behind him, Mike, I just feel like he just is so comfortable, as the kids would say, he's just in his bag right now. And you can see the tools coming. And again, we're only talking about a guy that's in the second year of his career. He's going to get better. And he's got to stay healthy. There was a couple of shaky shots there. There was one or two tackles that were a little questionable for his legs. He got shaken up a little bit. Joshua Dobbs had to step in because he hit his head on the turf. But I think overall, Mike, it's not like you're just seeing a guy just drop back and just throw deep. It's accuracy, it's ball placement, it's the way he can layer it over certain coverages, the way he's reading defenses, the command of the offense. Patriots.com, they all, our guys over there always put out great content. And you see after the game, him taking command, giving Vrabel kind of a game ball. He's taking more of a leadership role, and you're seeing him excel in the field. I think we're watching this kid blossom, Mike, before our eyes.
Oh, yeah, we absolutely are. And again, it comes back to him being able to understand where he is right now, to understand the franchise that he's playing for, and just the weight, just the gravitas that puts on you, and having to put on a uniform that was put on by Tom Brady, and needing to go out there and to prove to this
Which sounds
franchise
stupid, but it's not. It's really
no,
not.
it isn't. It isn't, and it counts for something. I know a lot of people like to scoff at it and like to throw it away. That's a lot of pressure on a young quarterback. I think if you hooked up Mac Jones or even Cam Newton to a certain extent, or Bailey Zappi, or anybody that tried to take a starting snap under center or wherever you're taking your starting snaps from as a quarterback after Tom left town, there is a weight that's on your shoulders that you have to carry in order to do that. And Drake May is proving that he has the ability to be able to do it. He has the mental makeup. He has the fortitude, the intestinal fortitude, as the late great Gorilla Monsoon would say. And he also has the skill set on the field to be able to back it up. And now, with the confidence that he's playing with, knowing that he's capable of playing at a high level, at a pro level, there really is no stopping him at this point. I mean, the sky is the limit. Will there eventually be a comeback down to earth? I think there is for every quarterback. But
isn't it kind of inevitable?
Keeps,
at some point, it probably will happen. But he just keeps ascending.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he definitely does keep ascending. I'm sorry, I thought you were talking to Steve. No, he does. He absolutely keeps ascending, and you keep seeing him make those moves each and every week to go and to get better. And you mentioned the connections that he had this week with Austin Hooper and with Kayshon Boutte. Again, knowing when to hand the ball off. And I thought Ramondre Stevenson had another very good game today in trying to work his way back into the good graces of Patriots Nation and become a part of this offense. But it all grows through Drake, and the confidence that he's showing it's impressing each and every one of his teammates, from guys like Boutte to Douglas to Diggs after the game. Couldn't say enough good things about him and about his place in the record books. So he's ready. He's ready to do. But Vrabel was definitely someone that sung his praises afterwards, and he's looking to kind of hang this one on his wall. A big win for Mike Vrabel today as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you heard from some of the guys after the game, all seeing Drake's praises. And Steve, you and I spoke about this. And we talked about how big this win would be for Mike Vrabel, even though he wasn't going to say it publicly. But we saw that after the game, Drake stepped in, and this goes back to the leadership role again of Drake kind of stepping into, and they knew the guys aren't dumb. People are paying attention to like what these things are. And we're talking about Vrabel elevating himself and getting a win against Tennessee. And what do you want to add about Drake May's performance and what the guys have to say about him afterwards, and Vrabel as well coming out with the win in Tennessee?
Well, I mean, I think the team is each and every week they're starting to take on more and more the personality of their coach, right? They knew this was a big game from Vrabel. Of course, Vrabel knew it. He didn't play upon that though. He kept it, close to the vest, right? Strictly business, as Mike
he usually does.
Right? I mean, to channel his inner Godfather, this was strictly business. It was a business trip, but they all knew deep down how much this game meant to him. And there are other look how many guys on the staff were.
I think Mike said it on the last show. 19 former players and coaches. I think, right. Mike. I don't want to misspeak for you, but I think you said 19, correct? Players and coaches. So
yeah, that's right. And so this was an important win, and the players recognized that. But they knew even after the game, Vrabel's, he didn't make it about a revenge game. He was like, hey, we came in, we were trying to win a football game, and the players recognized that. But he let a little bit of that emotion slip out when they called him back. I don't know if you guys seen the video of breaking it down when they gave him the game ball.
Yep.
I think that touched him. And, the fact that the team is taking on his personality, I think that's a great thing.
It's a great thing, Steve. That's a great point. 100%.
And May, Stephon Diggs, the leadership of these guys is taking hold. And you can see now that all the other players on the offense, they believe in these guys. They believe, and Quig just took the words right out of my mouth. They believe in themselves, and they believe in each other, and they believe.
Quig, thanks for listening, bud.
And if you look at some of these guys who are the teams that are struggling right now, it makes it, when the guys all put together like this and they believe in themselves, there's no limit to how high they can go.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And, I think the fun thing about this team, and Mike, I don't know how you feel about this, and Steve, I'll go to you next for this too. We are seeing them take kind of a new shape, right, as a team. I think there was a little bit of an identity crisis, for lack of a better phrase, kind of, when Tom Brady left and then the Bill Belichick, kind of thing unfolded. And now we're kind of seeing them, Mike, take care of their coach and getting behind their young quarterback. And there's a lot of new turnover. I mean, Mike, before you even joined the show, when we rebranded and we started the Patriots No Huddle podcast, I thought that we needed to see them take a step forward. They had some problems with drafting. They had some problem with roster development, young player development, finding that fixture at quarterback, having that position at head coach that was kind of more solidified. And that's not a shot at Gerard at all. Like, he just wasn't ready for it. And look, that's neither here nor there. That's a longer conversation for another day. That's not really what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that they have these guys on the right path, Mike, and they're building, and you can see it, and it's tangible. You can see it kind of coming through in the way they play. And I think a great example of that is how the game started. I mean, Steve and I were texting back and forth in the first quarter, and Steve and I were both just like, oh, God, it's happening all over again. Like, we were worried about this, that we were worried about the start. We were worried about how they were going to come out on the road, third road game in a week, or 3 weeks. And they had to go ahead and take care of business. And at the end of the day, yeah, they did have a bad first quarter, but they were able to make an inferior team look inferior. And I thought that we saw that today, Mike.
Oh, without question. Absolutely without question. The New England Patriots today made a gigantic step forward, and this team has been moving forward the last few weeks. I mean, that's nothing new to Patriots fans, but what you saw today in terms of them being able to take a little bit of a hit early, kind of get maybe knocked off their pedestal the last couple of weeks, era of good feelings, beat the Buffalo Bills, come in, get a big win against the New Orleans Saints, and all of a sudden they're starting to feel like they may be the toast of the town. Tennessee came in and reminded them, hey, you know what? We're still an NFL team. We may be 1-5, but if you're not going to give us a game, we're going to make sure that you leave here with a loss. They regrouped, and then they came back and they battled. And once they battled and they found their groove, that's when they really started to take off. That's when you saw the confidence in Drake May. You saw his playmakers around him consistently making plays. And that's when you saw the defense clamp down, too, and they started to play their game. I want to give them credit for how they played in the last 3 quarters, really in the second half, in keeping Tennessee off the board completely. Huge team effort. And, again, I think it does speak to exactly what their coach and their coaching staff, their entire staff, want to keep at it and want to keep hammering home that message. These guys know they can play. They want to get the maximum out of them. They want to make sure that even in the face of adversity, they're coming out and they're playing hard. One of the big things that you heard afterwards in the locker room, if you watched or listened to any of the post-game coverage, the theme in that locker room is right now on the money. They believe in Mike Vrabel. They want to play for Mike Vrabel, and they love to play for him. I don't think you're going to see a letdown in this team this year. They're going to keep the pedal to the metal with a full 17-game slate, and the way they're playing right now into the playoffs.
Yeah, and right now, Steve, I mean, the Bills were on a bye this week. Patriots improved to 5-2, which we would all sign up for if you're talking about 7 weeks into the season. 5-2, we're in for it. Bills on a bye, Jets lose, Dolphins lose. You're able to go ahead and propel yourself even more forward. And as Mike just said, which I totally agree with, they're buying into not only their head coach, they're taking on the personality of the head coach, as we've all said, and as Quig mentioned in the group chat. And again, I implore anybody who's listening to feel free to shoot out comments or whatever. But I think, Steve, you're looking at a team that fully believes that they are more capable of playing their best football, and they're showing that. They're showing that right now to you. And I mean, even Keyshawn Booty on Instagram posted shortly, just a little bit ago, he posted, Drake May being like MVP, like he is playing at that kind of level. I mean, I'm not saying that Drake May is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, okay, but he's playing at a top 5 level right now. And I think people are recognizing that. I don't care if you're a national analyst, if you are a local reporter, beat writer, whatever. He's playing at that level, Steve, and you can feel the team just really feeding off the vibes that he's giving off and the play and the performance that he's putting on week after week.
Oh, absolutely. And look, I mean, the proof's in the pudding. When you're completing, the percentage of passes that he is, and these aren't like
These aren't dink and dunk passes.
no, these aren't behind, at or behind the line of scrimmage. 75% of them, they're throwing the ball at all levels of the field, and when you're completing such a high percentage, even with that, throwing at all three levels of the field, you have to take it for what it is. And I looked at the game again. 21 of 23, he completed at 1.16 in a row. And really, the last incompletion was because they hit him on a blitz as he was trying to get rid of the football. So, I mean, his level of play right now is as good as anybody's in the league. And I know that, like, the national post-game shows were all full of, what happened in Kansas City today. And that's all fine and dandy. But look, this kid's playing at an extremely ridiculous level right now. And look, we weren't sure it was going to happen this quickly.
But they are ahead of schedule, though.
They're very much ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
Because I think it all stems from bringing back Josh McDaniels. We knew McDaniels knows how to coach young quarterbacks. He's done it throughout his career. He's brought the best out of these guys. And look, they even said it, excuse me, on the broadcast today about, what makes it successful running McDaniels' offense. And he had the perfect answer. It's about knowing how the play is designed, where it's supposed to go, what it's supposed to accomplish, and making sure everyone's in the right spot. And that includes himself and getting the ball where it needs to go. And I think they're just scratching the surface on what this team is capable of.
Yeah, and Mike, Steve and I were talking again earlier, and look, I could wax poetic about Drake all day long. I mean, we could spend half an hour talking about Drake, and it's not that he doesn't deserve his flowers. Okay, he does. But Mike, to you, I think that there are some other people, and I want to get to the defense particularly here shortly, but I think that there are other players that I think deserve a lot of credit. I think that people like Will Campbell or Christian Gonzalez, their names aren't being said on the broadcast. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think when you're a tackle or a cornerback, the less your name is heard on a broadcast, the better. And we're talking about guys stepping up at different levels of the team, taking care of business. And I'm not saying that it was a perfect game by Will Campbell. I thought Morgan Moses had a good game. There was that Ramondre Stevenson kind of walking touchdown off the right tackle, into the end zone that Onwenu and Moses just totally cleared out that whole line, and like kind of a crash down block. I think that was special. And people are wondering, like, where's Christian Gonzalez? Where's Christian Gonzalez? They're not throwing to him, Mike. They're not throwing towards him because they know that there are going to be repercussions going after him, and he's just so locked down. And again, I'm just throwing out two other guys aside from the quarterback because it's so easy to say, like, Drake May, what a great game, and it was. But there are other people that contributed to the win, and I think you're seeing that from some of your core players that you're building around as well.
Oh, of course. I think you're absolutely right on that. And look, yeah, there are a lot of players that deserve credit for the Patriots win today that aren't named Drake May. And that's taking nothing away from what Drake did, because he deserves the lion's share of the credit right now. He is the star of this team, and he's playing like it. But you look at someone like Stephon Diggs, who led this team in both receptions and yards, receiving yards today, didn't reach the end zone. Didn't matter. When you needed a completion. You needed to advance the ball. Stefan is there to be that voice of reason, that
He's been so
resident
solid.
veteran. He's just been incredible. And I mean, you talk about someone coming into this season and questions about his character or anything like that. Boy, is he making them look ridiculous right now for even questioning this guy's character. So good on Stefan to come in and to be a good soldier and to perform at a high level. But you mentioned Booty, and I had a little fun, at the expense of the LSU product when I wrote my post-game recap for Sports Illustrated today. And I said, it's no longer the call of duty in New England. It's the call of booty now in Foxborough. So really, I think at this point, you look at him, 2 receptions, 55 yards. What a laser. I called it a sword strike from Drake May to Booty, and with just to be able
with the
to make
fingertip
that catch
grab
with
too.
the fingertips, just amazing what these guys are doing right now. And again, he deserves a ton of credit. His ability to adjust his body, make not only contested catches, but also acrobatic grabs to keep himself in bounds. He's doing it on a regular basis. He's proving to everyone that he deserved to be drafted a lot higher than he was. Guaranteed right now, a lot of teams are kicking themselves for passing on Kayshon Boutte, and he is playing at a high level. And you mentioned Stevenson earlier. I thought it's another strong performance today. That's a porous Titan run defense. The O-line, I thought, blocked well for him on a couple of occasions. They deserve the credit. But the most important thing with Ramondre is he keeps turning in clean stat sheets when it comes to fumbles, when it comes to, any type of ball security issues. He rebounded quite nicely last week, comes in, scores the touchdowns. Today, all business. No reason to worry. So as long as they keep getting these types of contributions from their players, they're going to continue to perform at a high level.
Well, I think what people forget about Kayshon Boutte is when he was coming out of LSU, he was projected as a first round draft pick. And then his last year, it didn't go the way that he was hoping it was going to go. And he kind of developed into that. And then the Patriots were able to scoop him up, late day 3. And he's developed into it. And I think there's something that resonated with me with not only, and Steve, I don't know if you want to chime in on this, but like with him and Stephon Diggs, and they're different players, different stages of their career. Okay. But like, Stephon Diggs and Boutte have basically come out and said, like, I had some immaturity issues, and I've grown from that. And I think that we have to sometimes you look at players and pro athletes as objects. And I don't mean that in a bad way per se. I just think it's just natural as a fan to digest it and look at it as saying, like, these guys are just like, they're not like people, quote unquote, right? Like they're just athletes that are on the team. And it's so easy to forget that they have their own lives, their own struggles, their own battles, their own personal issues, family issues. And I'm not talking about them specifically. I'm talking about everybody. And their ability to compartmentalize and do things like that and to overcome these challenges is huge. And I think you've seen that from Kayshon Boutte, and I think you've seen that from Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs, do I think there's a little bit of a honeymoon phase with Stephon Diggs because he's worn out his welcome pretty much everywhere he's gone? Yes. But that's, I guess we'll just see where it goes. To this point, he's been the perfect soldier and warrior for the Patriots. And Boutte, you're seeing kind of grow up before our own eyes, and he's making strides, Steve. And so, I think with Boutte specifically, Steve, I think you're looking at Kayshon Boutte as a key part in your offense moving forward. And the chemistry with him and Drake has been undeniable, and you see it week after week after week.
Yeah, I mean, coming into the season, there was question marks. I mean, like during the offseason, Boutte's name was a familiar one for being on the trade block. Mm-hmm. And think about how lucky
people weren't even sure he was going to make the team.
Yeah. Think about how lucky they were not to have gone through with that, because he's developed into one of the better deep threats in the league right now. And, he's performing every week. He's producing. I think it was a great point by you. We forget that, coming out of LSU, he was really highly thought of until his final year there.
He was a
And
top half of the first round. He was a top half of the first round prospect in his junior season.
he went through some stuff,
Yep.
which he freely admits. And now, the light has come on for him. And look, I mean, he has been a godsend for this offense. I mean, coming into the season, there was a lot of questions about the wide receiver room. I mean, we saw it, we heard it. I mean, we kind of fed into it too. We were.
I think he's going to be. I think he's showing you right now, Steve, that he could be a legitimate wide receiver too. I'm not saying he's a one. I'm not saying he's Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson or anything like that. But like he is a legitimate receiver two in an NFL offense. I think he's showing you that.
And that's the thing. That's what they've been missing for a long time. He's a legitimate threat to take it to the house. And it's so nice to see the Patriots offense being able to do this again. I mean, they haven't had this. And it makes the offense so much better when teams have to respect that deep speed and the deep production. And he's been fantastic. And again, I mean, it's just starting to, we're seeing that chemistry just start to take hold with him 100%. And Drake May. And Diggs is doing what Diggs does best and getting open, catching the football, and now they have legitimate, weapons that teams have to game plan for. Yep. I mean, for years, what have we heard? No one stays awake at night worrying about the Patriots wide receivers.
They do now because they got the boogeyman at quarterback, and he's dealing.
But that's starting to change now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that opposing defensive coordinators now have to start worrying about, hey, look, they can go in several different directions with the ball, and obviously it takes the quarterback to put the ball where it needs to be. And May is doing that in spades.
I think the great thing about Stephon Diggs, I'm gonna run through the gamut real quick. I think the great thing about Stephon Diggs is that he does the two things that Steve, you just alluded to, that we've talked about all the time. What did Bill Belichick always say? Wide receiver, the two biggest jobs are what? Get open, catch the ball. He does those things. You're seeing Kayshon Boutte make some splash plays. Kyle Williams, it hasn't really happened for yet. Pop Douglas, I'll put my hand up. I have no problem saying this. I thought he was going to be even more impactful in this offense than he's been to this point, but it's not always a linear line. Okay, it's a new offense. We do have to keep in perspective that we are 7 weeks in to Drake May's second season, first year coach for this team specifically, and a new offense in general that they're all trying to go ahead and mold and get together for. Not to mention that they have two guys who are under the age of 23 years old on the left tackle and left guard side, totally new center, totally new right tackle. Okay, so you have a lot of different moving pieces on the offensive side in general. That doesn't even talk about the defense and the special teams. And, we can get to that, but those are absolute factors. And Mike, to me, I think the most encouraging thing is that we're seeing the return on investment so early for this team. And again, I don't want to make it just the Drake May show, because trust me, I could. And we could. But I think that when you're looking at some of these other pieces, guys are really falling into line. And I think that is a reflection of the head coach and what they're trying to go ahead and bring to the table. And that's why I feel really strongly about where their projection is moving forward.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And you look at what these guys are doing. You mentioned Pop Douglas earlier, 3 catches, 17 yards today. You look at the stat sheet and you're like, oh, okay, probably another also ran type of game. But Pop was right in the middle of a lot of big plays, made one of the most dynamic catches I've seen made all year. That one-arm grab was absolutely
I mean,
amazing.
terrific.
That definitely was a highlight film, caliber catch that will be on that reel. But again, it's the little things that these guys are doing to make this team go, and you're seeing them do that this year in ways they did not. And what are the new elements? You got to credit Doug Marrone for doing a tremendous job for this offensive line this year. You got to credit Tony Dews and the positional coaches for making sure that these guys are in the right place at the right time. But the buck stops at the corner or the desk of the OC, and that's where Josh McDaniels comes in. That's what he's doing well, and giving these guys the confidence and the tools they need to be able to succeed, putting them in position to make plays and to be successful. You can't ask for more from your coordinator, and he's provided that this year so well to everybody on this roster. So, yeah, you look, even Mac Hollins today had a couple of really good catches for 49 yards. Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper, obviously with the touchdown. It's spread all around, and you start to see all of the targets that are taking place and how these guys are being targeted. It's interesting, to watch how the ball is being spread around again in New England. It seems like old times in a lot of ways, and it means a lot of good things for the Pats offense on the field.
Well, let's switch. Let's quickly switch over to the defense, because again, we could talk about the offense all day. And look, it is exciting. There's a lot of great things. I'm sure there are plenty of things that we could touch on that we haven't. But we usually keep these post game shows a little shorter than normal. But defensively, I thought that there was a lot of things that they did well too. Cam Ward, I thought at times for the Titans, I don't know how you felt, Steve. I thought that he showed his physical ability and why he was selected number 1 overall. But I thought after they kind of settled in, there is a little bit of a feeling out process, and I'm a little frustrated with what the defense is. If I was going to nitpick this game, guys, I would say that the way the Patriots have started the game defensively has been a little frustrating, because it seems like it's a little leaky. Okay. But they tighten things up, and it's kind of a feeling out process, Steve. And I know you and I spoke about this earlier on the phone. We have the pre-show as we normally do. And I would say that defensively, I would like to see them do better moving forward with the first or second possession of opposing teams on the offensive side of the ball. But I do give credit to Cam Ward for starting out the game hot. I think he was 10 for 11 to start the game. And I think that they just need to do a better job of kind of tightening things up a little bit earlier. But once they were able to kind of feel them out, they shut them down. And then Tennessee was really just kind of spinning their wheels in the mud there a bit.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I thought the first quarter, the Patriots defense, they had some sloppy play. They had missed some tackles. They, were playing soft in coverage, and they let Cam Ward channel his inner Patrick Mahomes for that first quarter.
Yep,
right?
He was rolling.
Right. I mean, he didn't look like the guy that was completing 55% of his passes with 3 touchdowns and 4 picks.
He had a couple of throws over the middle, Steve, that not a lot of quarterbacks have the balls to make.
And then, as the second quarter came on, the defense started to lock down in the third quarter, and that's when the wheels came off Tennessee. And, I give the defense a heck of a lot of credit, regardless of their struggles early. Once again, the run defense was outstanding. They allowed only 39 yards on the ground to Tennessee. Last year, Pollard, I believe, had 118 or 120 yards on the ground against the Patriots. Today, Tennessee as a team rushed for 39. That's making your opponent one-dimensional. And it goes a long way, and especially when games are going to get tight and, you're playing better teams. When you take away that running game, which they've been continuing to do, it's a trend now, right? We've seen it all season long. They still haven't allowed a running back to have 50 yards on the ground. this has been fantastic, and I don't have any issue with that. I dislike the slow starts, as you know. We were texting back and forth early in the game. It
Yep.
drives me up the wall because then you see how good they can play. In the second half, to me, this is an issue that needs to be worked on. They just need to start better. But I like the way the defense as a whole was playing in that second half. They were, flowing to the ball. They were taking away stuff, and they started to get that pass rush going. In the second
100%.
half, they ended up with 4 sacks. In the first half, he was operating from a clean pocket, and it showed. So
100%.
overall, the defense, that they held them to 13 points, and 0 in the second half. That's the kind of stuff you want.
Absolutely. Well said. I want to thank everyone again who's listening to this episode of Patriots No Huddle, brought to you by PatsFans.com. Please do like and subscribe to our PatsFans.com YouTube channel. Like, share, leave us a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. It keeps us high in those podcast rankings so other Patriots fans can find us. Mike, let me ask you a question, man. Are you a boxing fan by chance?
I would probably say I used to be, probably then a little more right now, but I'm familiar with the sport.
So, you know what this Patriots team reminds me of, Mike? Is there, are you familiar with the term like counterpunch? Like,
Absolutely.
so like, okay, you're facing your opponent, right? And
Hmm.
they throw a strike, you slip it, and then you're able to go ahead and get a shot in. That's what this Patriots team reminds me of, Mike. This Patriots team is able to throw that counter punch, and I think you're seeing that. I think that's a reflection of their head coach. I think their quarterback is in Drake May. I think he's willing to go ahead and throw those shots in, and even if you get a shot in early, I think they're kind of feeling like the dance a little bit. You're feeling like you're kind of getting the rhythm. You're kind of seeing what your opponent's doing. They open up, and all of a sudden they open up, and then you get your whole shot in where you can go ahead and throw in a jab or a strike. And I think that's what this Patriots team's doing. And I don't want to speak for Steve, or anything, but like, to me, that's what I see this Patriots team doing week in and week out.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good comparison. I like the way you said that with the punch and the counter punch. And the other thing that I think this team is doing well, or at least they're starting to do well as the weeks go on, is I think they're starting to recognize what they're good at. And what this defense is very good at is stopping the run. And I think that we've seen so many strides from last year's team, which really had so much difficulty stopping the run from 2 years ago, where they were one of the best run stopping teams in the league. I think they're kind of getting back to where they were, and they're doing it in a different way. The Patriots are the only team right now in 2025 that has not surrendered 50 yards to a running back through the first 7 games in this season. That's the first time in history that's
I
ever
think
occurred
Steve
in the
mentioned that a second ago,
NFL.
but yeah.
Yeah, Baltimore did not allow a 50-yard rusher for the first 7 weeks of the season. Did Steve mention that? I didn't hear him say that. I
He mentioned
apologize for
something
that.
similar. I think, Steve, I don't want to speak for you, but I think it was
If
something
Steve did,
similar.
then I definitely want to give him a tip of the cap, and I'm not trying to steal his thunder here. But the longest streak that went was since the merger was 10 by Tampa Bay in 2020. So a lot still to put forth on that. They held Tennessee to 39 yards rushing.
They can do that
The
against Bijan
lowest.
Robinson here in a few weeks, and we'll be throwing friggin' hats in the air.
Well, that's going to be a little bit difficult. Bijan's playing at a very high level right now. Let's focus on what they're doing here. But that's the lowest total. Today's was the lowest total that they've allowed, 39 rushing yards, since allowing 29 rushing yards on 24 attempts back in December of 2023 against the team that I know very well, the LA Chargers. So this team is really coming into its own when it comes to run defense. And again, I know we want to come back to this, and I'll I'll throw my hat into the ring to give all the laurels in the world to Kayvon Chason, who I thought had a tremendous game today. Covers the fumble, 13-yard sack of Cam Ward in the third quarter, 4-yard touchdown. That's the team's first defensive touchdown of the year. The last one, Christian Gonzalez returning a fumble, 63 yards for a touchdown at Miami in last November of 2024. So big day from Chason. He continues to be a force in this defense. I think someone tweeted out, and I can't remember who it was during the game, and I do apologize, but they said that Kayvon Chason is going to be a very rich man this offseason.
I think it was
and he's earning
Keegan Stiegel, I want to say.
Yeah, I think it might have been either here. I can't remember if it was Andrew Callahan or either way.
Yeah, it might have been Andrew Callahan too. Yeah,
whoever it was, I do want to give full credit once I look this up and find it. But it was not me that tweeted that out. I wish it was, because it was a good tweet. But in that respect, I agree. He is going to be a very rich man and deserves every bit of it. Big third down sack of Cam Ward earlier in the game. I wrote about this prior to the game, that one of the things that I was going to be keeping my eye on is Jason's spin move, and especially if he were matched up against Moore. He got the matchup, he beat it, and it shows why he is such a valuable member of this defense.
Yeah, no, you are 100% right, and I think that it's a good shut up by you for Kayvon Chason. I thought he was excellent, Steve. I'm going to go over to you here in a second, but I think Chason had a great game. I thought Milton Williams and Christian Barmore were impactful on the inside. I think you're seeing, I would say, Steve, I don't know how you feel about this. I would say there's progress from the linebackers from what we saw early in week 1 to kind of swarming around the ball and being around it and making plays and impacting certain plays. And so I think that, I think that is a big thing. And the secondary, I thought was just, I just thought they just took care of business. I wouldn't say that anybody in the secondary, there was a couple of issues. I'm not saying it was all perfect roses, but I think in the secondary they made some plays. But I thought the linebackers were making some plays, and I thought that defensive line really flexed their muscles today, Steve.
Yeah, it was a good overall team effort, and that's what you're looking for. I mean, again, they started off slow, but after that first quarter, for 3 quarters, Tennessee scored 3 points, and that's the kind of overall defense you're looking for. I noticed that during the broadcast they mentioned that's the first time we've called Christian Gonzalez's name all day, and because the Titans were kind of staying away from him with good reason, right?
Yep.
But again, I think you hit the nail on the head. They're getting tremendous interior line play from Milton Williams, Christian Barmore, Kyrus Tonga. And the linebackers are playing much, much better now. And you have the secondary now that, it's healthy. They're starting to come together. And this is really good in relations to they're playing like the defense now has different levels. Okay. So there's not a weak level here or weak level there. They're playing good team defense, and they're limiting the amounts of space that opponents can work in. And it's still a work in progress. As we said, the slow starts are something that they need to work on, but I think, Chason had I think, his best game of the year. And, it was good to see Landry get a sack and against his old team. And Milton Williams had one. So it was spread out. Marcus Jones got burned on that touchdown early in the game.
Yep.
Came back with the interception. That's
great play.
These things are going to happen, and that's how you respond.
Yeah, I mean, cornerback's the second hardest position in football. I say that all the time. And you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. You just got to win more than you lose if you're going to be a good player in this league. And Marcus Jones has shown that in this year. He's shown that he's just more than a punt returner. He can really. He can really help a secondary out. And I think you saw that today. Final thoughts, gentlemen. I'm going to go first. Steve, I'll go to you next. And then Mike, final thought for you. And then take us out, okay? So for me, someone that Steve just mentioned as my final thought for this game, I want to give a shout out to Kyrus Tonga. Here's why. I don't know if everybody noticed this. There was a play Jeffrey Simmons made, who's just a phenomenal player. I mean, okay. And he made a play, and he looked over at Mike Vrabel after making the play, and kind of did like a boo-hoo kind of like hands thing around his, like basically like kind of mocking him for kind of crying about the situation with the Titans. You could feel about that however you want. When uh, uh, when the defense was celebrating the end zone later in the game, Kyrus Tonga did the same motion, looked at the crowd, gave him the thumbs down, and basically was like kind of an "fu." I'm a petty sob, so I can appreciate that kind. I can appreciate that kind of competitiveness. To me, that is what I'm all about. I love it. Inject that right into my veins. I just love the attitude that this Patriots team is playing with, and again, I think it emulates from the head coach. And I just think they're balling right now. And yeah, I mean, is it against the Titans? Sure, but they still accomplished what we all wanted to accomplish going into this game, which is you go in and you make an inferior opponent inferior, and you take care of business, get a win on the road, and now you're going back home to face a Browns team and hopefully elevate your club to 6-2. So great win for the Pats today. I'm excited about it, and there's a lot to be happy for if you're a part of Patriots Nation. Steve, to you.
Hey guys, I hate to run, but I just got a call, so I have to
you're
go.
Good. You're good, man. All right,
great
Mike
team
and I will
win.
finish off the show.
Yeah, great team win. I'm looking forward to next week coming home. Hopefully, they play even a better game against Cleveland, and let's go for 6-2.
Let's
I'll
do it.
talk
All
to you
right,
guys soon.
we'll see. We'll see you back on Wednesday, Steve. I'll talk to you.
Yep.
All right, Mike, over to you, bud. Final thoughts and take us out.
Absolutely. Well, final thoughts on this one. If you're a Patriots fan, you thoroughly enjoyed everything that you saw today, with the exception maybe of the first quarter. The Patriots really showing their offensive prowess, their defensive prowess. And as my final thought today, Derek, I want to give a little love to special teams tackling. Doesn't get a whole lot of press, doesn't get a whole lot of hoopla, but Brendan Schooler continues to emerge into Matthew Slater 2.0. And I don't say that derisively. I say that with a lot of reverence. Anyone who's ever listened to me on previous outlets or whatever I've done knows the severity with which I hold Matthew Slater. There's really no other, with the exception maybe of Tom Brady, that ranks higher, in my opinion, on guys that I believe did their job with class and to the utmost of their ability.
His tackling
Schooler
technique, Mike, is his tackling technique, Mike. I don't mean to cut you off, but this is something that not a lot of podcasts will talk about, the special teams tackling. Okay. And I'm not trying to interrupt you, just to interject. His technique is phenomenal. I mean, it's textbook. He knows where to grab, and he uses both hands, and it's almost always by the hips. You cut somebody down in half, and I don't care if you're Pop Warner, high school, college, whether it's D3, D2, D1, pros, he literally could be coach's tape on how you tackle, and whether it's special teams, defensively, or etc.
Oh, without any question. And today, Brendan was able to notch 2 special teams tackles. And I think, Derek, you said this very perfectly. If you listen to his explanation, folks, it's not easy to make special teams tackles. I mean, there is a technique, there is an art form that really is come to it. It's one-on-one, and there's so many opportunities to miss them or to be able to be in the wrong place, or footwork can mess things up. For you to be in the right place at the right time does that. So 2 special teams tackles today for Brendan Schooler, pushes his 2025 totals to 10 total. It's the 3rd time in his career that he's reached double-digit special teams tackles. He had 14 special teams tackles as a rookie in 2022.
It's only week 7.
Led the team in 2023 with 13, and again, like Derek said, week 7, he's already got 10. So the sky's the limit for him. A tip of the cap to Brendan Schooler, and mostly a very big tip in the cap to all of you out there that chose to make Patriots No Huddle, a part of your nightly coverage here as we break down a victory Sunday night, victory Monday for your New England Patriots. If you're listening to us in the interim, we always look forward and we always appreciate your support. So before the next pod, please make sure to download, subscribe, and follow wherever you get your podcasts. Always make sure that you're following the Pats Fans channel on YouTube to get the latest episode as soon as it's made available. On behalf of our good friend, our Patriots paisan, Steve Balistrieri, who had to duck out just a second early, my good friend Derek Havens, I'm Mike Debate, reminding all of you to stay safe, to stay well, to be the change that you wish to see in the world. Have a great day. Enjoy Victory Monday or however long you're going to celebrate this one. We'll see you back here again next time on Patriots No Huddle.